Chapter 21 Ravenlock's Tower. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The reason why this skill of thinking is so is that Ryan deliberately cultivated it in this aspect. After all, genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. 99% of the sweat is nothing with the blessing of talented people, and even the inspiration can be overcome by brushing the proficiency, but he thought that it was different from relying on proficiency in the past. Ryan consciously wanted to connect his skills together so that 1 + 1 is greater than 2, another perspective, at the stone monster on the 8th floor of Hogwarts. "A pile of cockroaches," said a tall, powerful man who looked like a brown bear at first glance. The stone monster jumped aside, and the wall behind it split in half, revealing a moving spiral staircase behind it. The man stepped up, and as the stairs circled around, rising higher and higher, and finally came to the door of Dumbledore's office with the brass knocker, the man knocked on the door. "Come in." It was Dumbledore's voice. "Good evening, sir," the man said and walked into the principal's office. "Ah, good evening, Hagrid." "Sit down," Dumbledore said with a smile. "I think you came to me because of the news about the unknown phoenix, right?" "Yes, sir, I searched all over the Forbidden Forest, and even asked Aragog and Bane. You also know Bane's bad temper, but whoever calls him is more effective among centaurs, otherwise I will ask Faerun just ze." Hagrid's black beetle-like eyes sparkled with excitement under his hair. "Hagrid, don't get excited, maybe it was just passing by," Dumbledore reassured. Or what?" Hagrid asked hurriedly. "No, nothing. This should be just a legend. I originally thought Fox would have a new companion. Although its species has always lived alone, Fox shouldn't have only an old man like me to accompany him." No, Professor, how can you be considered old?" That what Ryan on the other side didn't know was that no one knew about the magic of Phoenix incarnation after it was developed by Hirebo. He was too cautious. This also caused Ryan to never go to Hogwarts through the Phoenix incarnation for a period of time. If it weren't for Letters and Penello's insinuations, especially the news coming from Hagrid, a big mouth, Ryan would probably never show up as a phoenix at Hogwarts again. Late at night, in the empty Ravenclaw common room, Penello was flipping through books alone, waiting for the time appointed by Ryan in the letter and the image he called unimaginable, the Ravenclaw common room was a large, circular room that was more ethereal than any room seen at Hogwarts. Elegant arched windows hung on the walls, hung with blue and bronze silks. During the day, you can see the surrounding mountains and the scenery is beautiful. The ceiling is domed and painted with stars, and the dark blue carpet below is also covered with stars. There are tables, chairs, bookshelves in the room, and a tall white marble statue stands in the niche opposite the door. This is Rowena Ravenclaw, and next to the statue is a door that leads to the dormitory above. The stone statue has a teasing smile on its face. It is beautiful, but a little intimidating. On top of her head is a delicate ring replicated in marble, with tiny words engraved on it. "Extraordinary intelligence is mankind's greatest wealth." Suddenly, a beautiful creature appeared silently at the arched window on the wall. This is Ryan, and after many practices, Ryan can already control the banging sound of teleportation when in phoenix form. Ryan gently knocked on the window with his beak. I have to say that Ravenclaw is really a clever wizard. Even in phoenix form, Ryan can't enter without someone opening the window. This place is full of Ravenclaws. The magic under Clobu has lasted for thousands of years and will last forever. If Harry Potter had rested in Ravenclaw's tower after breaking his hand in Part 2, Dobby probably wouldn't have been able to show up to meet Harry, because after all, Dobby was not a kid at Hogwarts. Unless Dumbledore uses his authority as headmaster to open a back door. Penello looked at the time and it was exactly 12 o'clock. At this time, the sound of small stones hitting the glass window attracted Penello. That's the phoenix, the phoenix. Could it be the principal's phoenix? Penello thought to himself. After the excitement, Penello discovered that there was a blue ribbon tied to the phoenix's right paw. "It's Ryan." Penello stood up in surprise and opened the window for Ryan. In the letter, Ryan said that there would be no classes tomorrow morning. At that time, he would meet Penelope in an unprecedented appearance in the common room of Ravenclaw Tower at 12 o'clock in the evening. At that time, he could wear the blue ribbon identify. Penelope was very surprised and couldn't help lowering his voice and asked, "Is it an animagus? How could it be? How could it be a magical creature?" Ryan pecked Penelope's head with his beak, and said in Penelope's heart with his mind, "It's not this magic, this is my incarnation, you can say it's another me." Penelope, who was holding Phoenix, blushed slightly. "It's so amazing. This is my unique magic. To be precise, it should be two magics." The skill of mind communication was developed in 10 days to prevent communication with Jack in case of language barriers. The next time you meet Fox, you won't be unable to understand anything. Moreover, the Phoenix incarnation is different from the Patronus and cannot speak. If you don't have this skill, if you want to meet Penelope in the form of a phoenix, would you still have to communicate by writing on the ground and condensing magic power? That would be so troublesome. "It's amazing," Penelope exclaimed. On the other side, Dumbledore, who was communicating with Hagrid, seemed to have discovered something and smiled mysteriously. At this time, a short figure emerged from under the sofa. "Humph, it's you, Ryan." The short figure pointed at Phoenix and whispered. The moonlight shone on her face, revealing a sly smile. "Kate," Penino said in surprise. "Kate." Hearing Ryan's voice ringing from her heart, Kate couldn't help but be surprised even though she had been prepared. "Kate, what are you doing? Haven't you gone to bed early?" "Penelope, you are so unusual today. You went to bed at 10 o'clock. There must be something fishy." I mean, how do you know that Ryan is the Phoenix?" "You peeked at my letter." Penelope could hardly suppress his voice. "I don't need to peek. I was right behind you when you were in the library. You didn't pay attention. Originally, I just wanted to scare you." Ryan on the side couldn't help but be surprised. "From now on, Kate won't be there every time I go on a date." Chapter 22 The Magic of Love. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Nottingham Forest, the largest primeval forest in the UK, in a tall castle. Ryan turned over impatiently. What came into view was a pink room full of girlish atmosphere. This was Ryan's room, which was specially decorated by Ryan's mother. Ryan was not going to make any changes now. After crossing, it was hard to say whether he was Joe or Ryan Smith now. Last night, I met Penelope and Kate and chatted for a while. We exchanged our daily lives. For some reason, time passed quickly. It was late, looking at Penelope who was trying to resist sleepiness, and Kate was getting more and more energetic for some reason. Unconsciously, Ryan suddenly realized that Kate had actually got a lot of information from him. Ryan, who was afraid of his age, went back early. However, even if he returned home at 2 o'clock in the morning, he was almost close to the level 4 body transformation. This abundant energy made Ryan wake up at 6 o'clock, speechless. This is when Ryan was training to keep the function of sleeping. Otherwise, with Ryan's current level, he would have gotten rid of the function of sleeping long ago, but even so, not sleeping is just eating a little more for Ryan now, or even not eating, and using magic instead. Especially for Ryan with the Ouroboros magic, this consumption can be restored in one breath: sleepless, fasting, flying in the clouds. These are all basic operations for Ryan, but in this magical world, the use of magic is closer to idealism. Sleeping and enjoying food are a kind of relief for the soul, and love, the greatest magic in Dumbledore's mouth, strong love in Lily's hands, can even rebound Avada Kedavra and make Voldemort fall to the street. It has been several months since I came into contact with Penelope and Kate. The joyful spell and the happy spell are spells that can only be learned in the 3rd grade of Hogwarts. To be honest, Ryan has mastered it well with his talent. But after meeting Penelope and Kate last night, the silent joy caused this spell to undergo a qualitative change. Joyful Charm LV3, LV4, Race, Wizard, Strength, 17, the limit for ordinary people is 10, Constitution, 30, the limit for ordinary people is 10, Magic Power, 25, the limit for ordinary people is 10, Skills, Thinking LV4, 1%. Body Transformation LV3, 92%. Alchemy LV3, 15%. Charm LV4, 1%, Potions LV2, 13%. Transfiguration LV3, 4%. Gunfighting LV3, 3%. Martial Arts LV2, 23%. Reconnaissance LV2, 45%, Phoenix Incarnation LV1, 77%. Telepathy LV1, 27%, even Charm has been upgraded to LV4, which is the pinnacle that an ordinary wizard can reach in his normal study throughout his life, that is, the level of a 7th grade student at Hogwarts who studies hard and graduates normally. Most of the 7th grade students at Hogwarts only master a few LV4 or LV5 spells, and most of these spells are the common spells learned in class, and the overall skill of spells is around LV3. However, I rely on the happiness that comes from the bottom of my heart without a trace of dirty thoughts to make the joyful spell reach LV5, and even make the spell stay in the realm of LV4, so, the reason why Harry Potter can fight against Voldemort is all because of love, courage and other illusory things. Although Ryan has already known this, he is still a little speechless, but his Black Knight has a fast shooting speed, plus this physique, combined with gun fighting skills, even a wizard like Harry will probably not have time to explode. It seems that if there is a duel in the future, it is better to talk less trash. Those who are mentally weak enough to be disturbed by trash talk don't need to waste saliva. And those wizards with beliefs will not be disturbed by these emotions, but will give them time to gather their beliefs. Speaking of which, when Harry Potter was going to death in the last part, his Patronus charm can be seen from the original description. The Patronus charm is no longer necessary for Harry. The Patronus in his heart can already prevent Harry from being disturbed by Dementors. When he was going to die, Harry Potter kissed the golden snitch that hid the Resurrection Stone. The legacy that Dumbledore left to Harry was truly revealed when Harry was ready to die. The dead relatives appeared one by one, turned into invisible Patronus, and accompanied Harry to death. Dumbledore, this bad old man, is really bad. According to Snape, I was a spy for you, made up lies for you, and took fatal risks for you. All this is said to be to ensure the safety of Lily Potter's son. Now you tell me that you raise him like a pig to be slaughtered. The words are a bit off. Although it is also because of the Resurrection Stone, Harry Potter's Patronus charm at this time is estimated to have reached an unprecedented level 6. Dumbledore had already obtained the Resurrection Stone before his death, and he also went to death in the Resurrection Stone or his own plan. He clearly knew the magic of the Resurrection Stone, and how happy Dumbledore was when he knew that Voldemort used Harry's blood to resurrect and deepen their connection. Voldemort took Harry's blood and used it to reshape his flesh and blood. Harry Potter's blood flowed in his veins, and Lily's spell existed in both Harry and Voldemort's bodies. As long as Voldemort was not dead, Harry Potter's life would not end. Under Dumbledore's plan, the spell that should have disappeared from Harry's body at the age of 17, the spell of love called Lily Potter, continued in Harry and Voldemort's bodies. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading. And because the love potion was born, and even because the birth of this natural and acquired monster that took his mother's life, Voldemort could not feel love at all. The invisible chain bound him deeply at the moment when Voldemort was resurrected. If Dumbledore encountered this situation, he would be able to detect and destroy it quickly, but Voldemort could not. In Dumbledore's plan, letting Voldemort destroy his last Horcrux with his own hands was the last gift to him, his student Tom Riddle. Unfortunately, the plan was not as good as the change. Snape, who was supposed to kill Nagini, died from the snake's kiss. Neville, the second child of the prophecy, killed Nagini. It destroyed the bad taste of Dumbledore. The old man, Dumbledore actually prepared two plans. One was to follow his own old path. If Hermione, who was a little stubborn and didn't believe in fairy tales and things not written in books, and Ron, who had no opinions and followed Hermione unconditionally, didn't persuade Harry. Collect the 3 Deathly Hallows, use their magic to cooperate with Snape, the spy, to drive away Voldemort and restore peace. The second is to destroy the Horcruxes under the advice of 2 friends, die generously after learning the truth, and finally defeat Voldemort. 7 books, 7 invisible trials. Harry Potter's courage and soul have long been forged into a sword to kill Voldemort. Even after the 5th part, Voldemort no longer dared to deceive Harry Potter through contact like before. In Dumbledore's words, he couldn't stand a pure and healthy soul. Voldemort was too busy destroying his soul. In the 5th grade, he made a Horcrux with the death of Myrtle and drove Hagrid away. Ryan had actually looked for love, the oldest magic, but the books such as The Magic of Love, Protecting Family, and the bonds between people were all about some spiritual chicken soup, or I could no longer feel these from the perspective of a child. The spells recorded in them were just average in power, and love was the most important component of it. Unconsciously, Ryan, who was reading and thinking, found that it was already 9 o'clock. Crackling, Jack appeared at the desk. "Master, your letter." Oh, it turned out to be a letter, which was really a bit troublesome. Because of the habits of the Smith family, or the protection of magic, the owl could only send the letter to a high tower in the distant canyon that was specially used to receive letters. If there were no house elves, it would take about 3 hours to walk there, but it was because of this that Voldemort's 3 invasions were blocked. Not long ago, I went there in person to see that there were still some dead bodies of Death Eaters and several intact ones under the canyon. Chapter 23 History of Magic. You are listening at novelfull.audio. So it's Penelope's. Didn't we just talk face to face last night? Do you like writing letters so much? Ryan opened the letter and couldn't help complaining. Yes, in the original book, Percy and Penelope also wrote to each other every day. For normal people, some things are hard to say in letters, and they have to talk in person, but for Penelope, it's probably hard to talk in person, so she writes in letters. Let me see, what do you want to complain about again? History of magic? Ryan couldn't help but get excited and wrote back quickly. From Penelope's perspective, history of magic is all the fault of the ghost Professor Cuthbert Binns. His teaching style is the same, and he always reads from the book. He talks with panting and dragging, which makes it difficult for people to concentrate, and people will soon fall into a drowsy sleep once they take his class. But in Ryan's opinion, the bigger problem is the compilation of the book History of Magic. Ryan has wanted to complain a long time ago, but there is no one to talk to. In the Smith family, for some reason, there is no magic painting except the bathroom. Jack didn't understand this, and Penelope just ran into the trap. The history of magic always records some important points that shouldn't be there, such as the Goblin Rebellion, which is all dry dates and names. What was the situation during the rebellion? How did it happen? How to stop it from going to peace, and what strategies were used? If the history of magic can be written like the history books of the Muggle world, even if he talks with wheezing and dragging his voice, Hermione will not be able to withstand his hypnotic magic voice. Especially in the biography of characters, some people should be recorded, such as the following famous people who were already integrated with social development at that time. Ignatius Wildsmith, the wizard inventor, invented the Flo powder, magenta Comstock, the predecessor of the magic painting, who had a grudge with a certain Smith clan leader, was an experimental artist, and her portraits would move with the viewer. Mungo Bohan, the founder of St. Mungo's Hospital for the Sick and the Injured. Cleona, a clever Irish female druid, was the first person to discover the characteristics of the moon dew flower. The inventions or achievements of these people are part of history, and it is right to focus on the introduction and extension, instead of the famous weird wizard Ulrich, who can be said to be a weirdo among wizards, and is famous for wearing a hat made of jellyfish. Sadly, characters like Ulrich are recorded more in the history of magic, and are more detailed, abrupt, boring, and difficult to remember. For some reason, Ryan has a kind of heartfelt rejection of the history of magic, not the history of magic written by Bathilda Bagshot. After all, this book was only published by the Little Red Book Company in 1947, and this kind of disgust that can be said to be engraved in Ryan's blood has been passed down from a more ancient era. To be fair, the book written by Bathilda Bagshot has deleted some characters like the weird Ulrich. But Ryan still can't like it. The Smith family hates people, doesn't like to be in the limelight, hates to be left with portraits, likes alchemy, and has a natural Akron temperament. These characteristics have always been associated with magic, and the surname has been passed down from generation to generation. Wizarding families that have been passed down for a long time have certain characteristics and are difficult to die out. Like Ollivanders, they like wands and have amazing memories. The Potters have messy hair, strong perception, thin bodies, and even invented shampoo specifically because of their hair. which led to Snape not using shampoo and greasy hair. The Malfoys have white skin and golden hair from generation to generation, and are good at communication. Black is the strangest. Although they claim to be always pure and loyal to their beliefs are like a kaleidoscope, paranoid, and mostly inconsistent. This has led to the Black family tree being the pure-blood family that is trimmed most frequently. Guys who do not conform to the mainstream views of the family or who are shameful to them are expelled from the family tree. Dumbledore is deeply loved by the Phoenix, has a long life, and is good at transformation. Weasleys are optimistic, have red hair, and are unimaginably fertile. Gaunt, who was born from Voldemort, was stubborn and cruel like a snake. Although their inbreeding made every generation speak Parseltongue and have super high magical talent, it also led to the stubbornness, conservatism, dislike of flexibility, intoxication with the antiquity of the family, and trapped in their own world. The next few generations did not even go to Hogwarts. Finally, coupled with extravagance and lack of management, the last Marvolo Gaunt, his only daughter Merope, did not choose to be with his biological brother Morphin Gaunt, but chose to use aphrodisiacs to seduce Tom Riddle, a rich young man from the same village, to elope together. In the end, Gaunt could be said to be extinct. After all, Voldemort was not worthy of being called Gaunt in Marvolo's eyes, just as Morphin was not worthy of being his uncle in Voldemort's eyes. In short, magic passes on the most significant characteristics of ancestors to future generations, which is more significant than genes. For example, fathers and sons do not necessarily have the same hair color and personality, but the magic world does. With complicated thoughts, Ryan finished writing the letter. After letting Jack send him off, Ryan started a new magic experiment. When reproducing the Sword of the Immortal, Ryan used his reconnaissance skills to miraculously reproduce the countercurse. The regret for the separation from Harry's mother, Lily, was the best remedy for the poison on the Sword of the Immortal. The inventor Snape. Ryan wanted to know if he could bring Snape's image into his mind and visualize Lily's appearance at the same time, and if he could just say Lily's name, the countercurse would be effective. Ryan specially prepared a lot of materials, including Lily's graduation photo in elementary school, photos of her attending Hogwarts, and photos of her wedding. Snape's current photo was hard to find when he was a child. Ryan spent a lot of effort in the Muggle and Wizard worlds just for these photos. When he is old enough to go to Hogwarts, he can consider giving these photos to Snape as a Christmas gift. Finally, the most important thing is Lily's full name, Lily Evans, Lily Potter, which should not work. Ryan was very sorry that he did not take the time to notice Lily Evans' full name in his previous life, and did not even glance at it, otherwise he could just look it up in his memory. Ryan sketched James Potter in his mind. Without reciting a spell or even thinking about it, the invisible sword suddenly sprang out from the mouth of the White Knight's staff. Ryan picked up the White Knight like a hilt. The LV5 Shinfeng Wuying can already be displayed according to Ryan's thoughts. It will not fly out of the mouth of the staff like the original appearance and chop the designated object. Ryan aimed at the dummy in front of him and swung it violently, splitting it in two. The cut left a strong trace of black magic. This is much more powerful than my normal spell. Next, let's see if the toxicity can be solved. Let's see which method is more effective and useful. But I'm afraid Snape himself didn't think of this method. Ryan smiled. Chapter 24, Experiment of Love. You are listening at novelfull.audio. First experiment. Lily Potter. Ryan said, with a picture of Lily's wedding in his mind. A strange, regretful magic power could not stop flowing from the White Knight to the broken part of the dummy beheaded by the shadowless divine sharpness. The dark magic breath entangled in the broken part receded like a tide. Time, 3 seconds. Recast the shadowless divine sharpness and beheaded the dummy again. Second time. Lily Evans. Lily's elementary school appearance was redrawn in his mind. 2 seconds. Ryan suddenly thought of something again, and couldn't help curling his lips. He aimed at the dummy that was beheaded again with the same power. Lily Prince. This time it was the appearance of Lily marrying the adult version of Snape. The surging magic power like a mountain torrent rushed to the broken part of the dummy. This was a kind of magic power mixed with regret and joy. The separated dummy head and body also automatically gathered together as if alive. So fast, less than 1 second. Although the counter-curse of the Shadowless God has the property of healing, it is like Snape singing a full version of the spell, which not only dispels the venom of the Shadowless God on Draco, but also stops bleeding and heals the wound like applying a handful of white mulberry, but the two broken halves are gathered together, which is already restored to the original state. The effect of this spell is really amazing. Emotions are the biggest fuel for the magic of this world. Will Voldemort, who cannot perceive love, go to the path of pain, fear, death, and negative emotions such as the Reaper for the advancement and development of magic because of this, or he is the embodiment of these dark sides? In these 3 experiments, Ryan found that the less Lily was related to James, the more she could trigger the counter-curse of the Shadowless God, especially Lily. Prince, who Ryan thought of by chance, was simply superb. At the same time, Ryan's panel, race, wizard, strength, 18, normal limit is 10, constitution, 31, normal limit is 10, magic, 26, normal limit is 10, skills, thinking LV4, 3%. Body transformation LV3, 93%. Alchemy LV3, 17%. Charms LV4, 32%. Potions LV2, 15%. Transfiguration LV3, 7%. Gunfighting LV3, 5%. Martial arts LV2, 25%. Reconnaissance LV2, 63%. Phoenix incarnation LV1, 79%. Telepathy LV1, 89%. Click on charms. Divine Sharpness LV5, LV6 that I didn't expect that the first skill to reach LV6 was Divine Sharpness, which is a realm that the inventor himself probably hasn't reached. After all, Divine Sharpness is also a painful memory for Snape. No wonder Snape accidentally missed with it in the 7th part and hit George's ear. The Killing Curse, Avada Kedavra. Ryan prefers to call it the Death Curse, even it is only level 4, these 2 spells can be said to be the sharpest bullets. If Ryan uses the Black Knight, is there really a wizard in this wizarding world who can stop it? However, Ryan is too biased, but with his high mobility, it is already a perfect match. Let's be extravagant today. Taking a deep breath of the pipe lit with phoenix feathers, Ryan felt the Phoenix incarnation skill proficiency slowly rising. This is a new method Ryan recently discovered in another unknown notebook of Hellbow. Although it is very expensive and consumes a lot of materials, it can improve the proficiency of the Phoenix incarnation, although Ryan can also improve by practicing himself. If it is not Ryan himself, but an ordinary wizard, he has to spend a lot of Phoenix feathers every time to summon the incarnation to practice. Compared with the above method, this method of smoking is more cost-effective, and a feather can be cut into small pieces for multiple uses. This greatly saves time for Ryan. Usually, Ryan puts it in the newly made incense burner, smells it and performs the Era call, brushing 2 skills at the same time. Of course, this is not smoking, nor is it just lit with an ordinary flame. Just lighting it is too choking, and it will cause a lot of waste. It uses Gublife Fairy Fire, also known as Eternal Fire, a kind of enchanted flame that can burn forever. This is a very advanced magic, because only a few wizards can do it. Only with this eternal flame can the magic of the Phoenix be best absorbed. To be honest, it feels more like inhaling warm, non-irritating liquor with the nose, and it burns the heart after entering the body. To be honest, it is different from the Fierce Fire. The Fierce Fire is easy to make, but difficult to control, and this magic of making Gublife Fairy Fire is too difficult to master at the beginning, especially with Ryan's level 4 spell learning. Normally, you have to level 5 to try to learn it. Because this magic is too difficult, even Hogwarts will not teach students how to perform it. The notes mention that after the Phoenix avatar was used, it would have some of the Phoenix's properties, making it much easier to create Gubler's Fairy Fire than other wizards. In addition, Ryan even had the eternal properties of the Phoenix, which greatly reduced the difficulty of casting. But in the end it took nearly a month to barely create a small ball of fairy fire. In Hogwarts, although its spell is long and difficult to pronounce, it is not secret, but only Dumbledore can create it. This may be related to the origin of their family and the Phoenix, plus the possession of the Elder Wand. In the 5th part, he also specially asked Rubeus Hagrid to bring a goobler fairy fire as a gift to the giants. This chapter is not finished yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. In the end, relying on this flame alone, he almost won over the giants. If it weren't for Voldemort's tough measures and the giants' inherent violent character, Hagrid would have succeeded. This flame itself will not go out. The food made with it can strengthen the body and can be supplied to a wizard family or magic race for permanent use. No wonder the giants almost tempted. Originally, Smith also had this kind of magic flame, but a certain generation of patriarchs gave this flame to the Goblin dynasty because of a transaction, and finally exchanged it for the Goblin's secret method of making silverware. Although this method cannot be spread, only one Smith can watch it in each generation. After all, this is a unique skill of goblins that is as important as the magic wand. Just like in the magic world, only wizards have the craftsmanship to make magic wands, and other magic races have no right to use magic wands. In the original book, the biggest reason why the house elf Winky was expelled by Crouch was that Winky was holding a wizard's wand when he was discovered, and the Smiths who came later, none of their magic skills reached the level of being able to make fairy fire. It's not that they don't want to work hard in this area, but mainly no one is interested in it, or they are not talented enough. You know, the food made by fairy fire can make the next generation grow better, without disease or disaster, and it is also very useful in alchemy. The goblins are probably trading the silver technology for a breakthrough in alchemy. Maybe in their eyes, after having fairy fire, the technology has been broken through, and the old technology is no longer important. Maybe you will ask, why not leave the fire in advance? That's because it is not like the fierce fire that can grow bigger by burning. From the beginning of its manufacture, its total amount does not increase or decrease, so there is only one, and a wizard can't make too many of these flames in his life. First, it will waste time, and second, this kind of flame is more like a taboo. After making one, it takes a long time to make the next one. Even in that era when magic had not yet been discussed and studied, many wizards believed that a wizard could only have one fairy fire in his lifetime. Later, after development, wizards discovered that the production of fairy fire was cyclical, but this time, cyclical, because there were too few wizards who could make it, led to the fact that there was no specific time interval in the book. The strangest thing is that after making the Goblet fairy fire, the magic level, body or mind did not decay. But if it was not separated by a period of time, no matter how correct the spell and gesture were, it could not be made again, but Ryan found that he could still do it. After all, Ryan had a panel, and the skills recorded on it would never fail for any reason. It itself contained the power to point to the right direction. Through his talent, Ryan found that it was not a taboo to be unable to make it again, but after the successful production, if you want to make it again, the spell and gesture cannot be the same as the first time, and there must be some changes. If it does not change, you can only wait for a long time, because this magic is not simply completed independently by itself, it is also born in response to the world and the surrounding environment. If the mother wants to have another child like the one before, she can only wait until she forgets about the child or give birth to it again in a different appearance. Chapter 25, Tianmu. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Unconsciously, it is almost January. In the recent period, Ryan has been making fairy fire non-stop, enjoying fairy fire barbecue, and using it to do some alchemical experiments for the first time in a long time. December 25th is Christmas, and Penelope and Kate mentioned in the letter that I will meet again in Hogsmeade on Christmas. Speechless, Hogwarts will be on holiday on Christmas, and the holiday is also very long. They will not return to school until early January. Don't these two guys have a home? The most important thing is that I have been going to Hogwarts almost every evening. The legend of the Ravenclaw Phoenix is almost known to everyone in Hogwarts. We often meet. Why do we still have to write letters? Even Kate. It seems that Penelope has led her astray. Having said that, with Ryan's unremitting efforts, the Phoenix incarnation finally reached level 2, and the Nirvana skill contained in it was finally lit up. Skills related to future life events. Ryan couldn't help but be cautious. Ryan has been using his thinking skills constantly in the past month, and even his reconnaissance skills have mutated again, producing a strange wizard intuition. Ryan can always find relevant books that seem to be unrelated on the surface. Ryan finally discovered that nirvana can indeed regenerate, but it must wait until aging or serious injury. The memory problem after rebirth that I am most concerned about can also be preserved under the thinking skills. Nirvana is like sleeping. During this thinking, Ryan also discovered the side of wizards besides magic properties and talents. The reconnaissance skill comes from Ryan's unwillingness to not be able to perceive the breath of magic. With the help of his brain and talent, it is closer to the identification skill in the game. As Ryan's research on magic deepens, it can even connect invisible spells and can contact magic magnetic fields under special circumstances. Recently, it has been closer to the third I mentioned by the prophet. As long as he wants, Ryan can always find the knowledge he needs, but it must be related to magic. This may be related to the power of magic knowledge itself. What he is looking for is not knowledge, but magic. Finding magic books is a re-derivation of the previous skills. Just like Ryan's reconnaissance skills, wizards actually have strange intuitions. For example, if you make potions according to the standards in the books, you can only be a craftsman, but to become a master, you must control the magic power and put in different quantities from the standard according to your intuition to truly make a potion that can be called excellent, and I has a strange intuition in alchemy and mathematics. Ryan also inherited this after crossing. With the help of his father's manuscript, he completed the Black Knight. The most well-known wizard intuition is the third eye. Prophecy is actually not as rare as imagined. In the Department of Mysteries in the Ministry of Magic, there are many things that only a small number of wizards can contact and study. The wizards who work here are called silent people. Love, space, thought, time, death, prophecy, etc. are all their research targets. There is a special prophecy hall in it. Countless real prophecies are hidden in crystal balls. Each one is real and effective, but not all of them will happen. To be honest, prophecy is just a possibility. The real prophecy itself carries magic and cannot be faked. The prophets who make the prophecy cannot control it, and the wizards who hear it cannot forget it. With so many crystal balls mentioned in the original book, it is conceivable how many prophets or wizards with clairvoyance there are. This intuition is more reflected in the possible prediction of the future. Although the divination class at Hogwarts is ignorant and ridiculous in the eyes of Harry, Hermione and other untalented people, in the eyes of truly talented wizards, every course is a training and development of clairvoyance. Not every prophet is as crazy as Sybil Trelawney, who thinks she is a liar, as the great-great-granddaughter of the famous prophet Cassandra. In extremely rare cases, Sybil will fall into a trance, make a real prophecy, and then return to normal. Her overly powerful prophetic ability makes her unable to remember her prophecies like ordinary prophets, and she forgets them after making a real prophecy. If there were no magical item in the Department of Mysteries that is similar to the Hogwarts Book of Admission, all the prophecies made in the UK would be recorded and finally recorded in the crystal ball. I am afraid that Sybil has only one prophecy recorded in her life. This is why the divination and arithmancy classes have never been abolished. However, it may also be because Dumbledore was too impressed by his boyfriend who had the ability to predict. Generally, the predictions made by prophets are made in a semi-conscious state. They can remember a small part of it and really know that they have a divine eye and talent. Speaking of which, Professor Sybil Trelawney can also predict something through tools when she is awake, but she often doesn't believe it herself. Thinking of this, in the Memory Palace, the book Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince automatically appeared in Chapter 10 of the Gaunt House. Harry walked quickly through the empty corridor. Suddenly, he saw Professor Trelawney turning the corner, shuffling a dirty deck of playing cards in her hand, reading the points on the cards and talking to herself. Harry quickly dodged and hid behind a statue. 2 of spades, conflict, she muttered as she walked past where Harry was hiding. 7 of spades, bad omen. 10 of spades, violence. Jack of spades, a dark-haired young man, probably upset and unwilling to be interrogated. This chapter is not over yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading. She stopped and stood on the other side of the statue where Harry was hiding. Oh, this must be wrong, she said in annoyance, and Harry heard her reshuffle the cards vigorously while walking forward, leaving only a smell of sherry behind her. Professor Sybil Trelawney is so pathetic. Maybe it's a curse. After all, her family can be traced back to the priestess of Apollo. Because of making random prophecies, she was cursed by Apollo and passed down from generation to generation. What a pity. Ryan sighed. If Professor Sybil Trelawney's intuition was changed to potions, alchemy, and magic, she would probably be a great wizard, instead of being looked down upon by fellow Professor McGonagall, and even being made difficult by a small official Yuri Much in the 5th part and almost driven away. It is best to change talent into strength, so that others dare not make things difficult for you. In order to protect Professor Sybil Trelawney, Dumbledore hid her identity as the prophet who made the prophecy of the Savior. No wizard knew that the prophecy that led Voldemort to death came from the mouth of a crazy and liar professor, but this also led to her not having the bonus of fame, and the only identity she could say was the great-great-granddaughter of the prophet Cassandra. Voldemort should have also learned about the prophecy, and learned part of the prophecy from Snape. After he confirmed that it was a true prophecy, he went to give himself up. After hearing this prophecy, Voldemort would not be so stupid. The key to this prophecy is that the Dark Lord marked him as a strong enemy, and possessing energy that the Dark Lord did not understand was not the key. Only the child of prophecy after being marked is the real child of prophecy, Voldemort's strong enemy, and only one of the two can survive in the end. In fact, as long as Voldemort does not attack a family that has defeated the Dark Lord 3 times, he can rely on the Horcrux to survive for a long time. Ryan, if Voldemort, a wizard family, withstood my attacks twice, I would never attack them personally again, and I would train my subordinates or win them over. Prophecy, only if you believe in it and implement it according to the prophecy. Will the prophecy really take effect? Otherwise, where would there be so many real prophecies that have not taken effect in the Prophecy Hall? Chapter 26 Hagrid, the King of Monsters. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the early morning, the bulldodgers kept flashing in the woods, and the sun shone through the dense leaves on the emerald green and slender face of the tree-guarding foal, and the mist gradually dissipated. The young unicorn, shining like gold, was ignorantly cared for by the tall and sacred adult unicorn, whose body was as white as moonlight, drinking water by the lake, and occasionally touching the colorful ball fish exhaling on the lake with his nose. In the grass, the goblins that looked like moving potatoes carefully looked at the unicorns. Not far away, the centaur Bane took the young centaurs to identify herbs. He was usually irritable, but he was particularly patient in teaching the foals. The Thestrals surrounded Hagrid, snorting intimately, and from time to time, they picked up bloody raw meat from the bucket brought by Hagrid. Yaya shivered a few times, and his nose moved slightly, but he stayed far away from the Thestrals. Not far from Hagrid's hut, several hippogriffs blinked their bright orange eyes and turned their heads away proudly, with a look of arrogance and disdain on their faces. This was the morning of the Forbidden Forest. Ryan, who appeared here in the form of a phoenix, looked at Hagrid with his narrow phoenix eyes curiously. Race, wizard/giant, strength, 30, the limit for ordinary people is 10, constitution, 34, the limit for ordinary people is 10, magic, 25, the limit for ordinary people is 10, skills, animal affinity LV3, 22%. Taming LV5, 43%. Charms LV4, 49%, Potions LV3, 44%. Transfiguration LV3, 14%. Magical Biology LV5, 67%, such scary data, and his magic power is not lower than the average level of adult wizards. His strength and physique are far beyond what I have now. If Hagrid had more ideas and ambitions, ordinary wizards would have no way to deal with him. But in the original world line, in order not to cause trouble for Dumbledore, he did not resist and was sent to Azkaban. What a pity, a good embryo for both magic and martial arts. Taming level 5. Is this why the human-headed lion body manticore and fire crab can cross and give birth to the exploding-tailed scroot? Animal affinity level 3. Is this the reliance of Stone Hagrid, who was called the King of Monsters in ancient Greece? Ryan often turns into a phoenix in his spare time and comes to Hogwarts to play. He visits all the places that ordinary students dare not stop and touch. During the leisure reading time after dinner yesterday, Ryan saw several short stories in ancient Greece, Things You Don't Know, which more or less mentioned the Monster Kingdom, a mysterious kingdom composed of rare and powerful magical creatures above 4x, such as Tebow warthogs, giants, centaurs, thestrals, chimeras, Catalonian fireball dragons, etc. Some tourists learned from the magical creatures that could communicate, such as giants, that the composition of their kingdom was all maintained by one person, the king of monsters, Hagrid. Of course, in the mouth of the giant, he was not called the king of monsters, he was called Stone Hagrid I, the thunderstorm born of the Hagrid family, Hercules, the king of the forbidden forest, the controller of giant creatures, the mentor of the dark forest, the liberator, and the lord of dragons. This glorious country, hidden in the depths of the forbidden forest, was finally accompanied by the melee between the Hagrids, and many creatures preyed on each other, and the language was not communicated. It collapsed and declined. Except for a few travel notes that no one believed, there was no trace. The owner of one of the travel notes was William Smith, Ryan's ancestor. It described in detail this great kingdom located in the dark forest of Scotland. Under the leadership of Hagrid, all magical creatures no longer preyed on each other, but fed on cattle, sheep, stoats, mice, fish and other unintelligent creatures. They raised and planted, and achieved an unprecedented harmony to resist the influence of foreign wizards. William Smith said that until his old age, he still remembered that great country, especially the celebration day of November 11th every year, Hagrid's birthday. Under the bright moonlight, the moon beasts danced, the divination birds sang with clear bird calls, the Catalan fireball dragons flew in the sky, spewing flames, and exploded in the sky with special skills. The horse-shaped water monster sprayed water columns to extinguish the unnoticed sparks. Ryan was very surprised. Hogwarts is located in Scotland. Is this forest the Forbidden Forest? Is Hagrid the Hagrid of Rubeus Hagrid? Legend has it that Hagrids have the magic power to sober up cruel and tyrannical magical creatures. They can also see the beauty of all things. Among several dragons that look not much different, they can always find the most beautiful one among the dragons. This beauty is not the beauty in the eyes of ordinary people, but the beauty in the eyes of dragons of the same species. If Hagrid is Hagrid, it is no wonder that Hagrid's father fell in love with a giant. They have such aesthetics in their blood, not to mention that giants are similar to humans. They were not wild and had great civilization. The reason why Hagrid can control magical creatures is also related to the origin of magical creatures. There is a saying that all magical creatures are the product of experiments of failed transformation by wizards. Most wizards who become magical creatures lose their minds, and even under strange psychology, they only infect their blood relatives and become a stable population, unlike werewolves. This is just a hypothesis, but the most conclusive proof of this hypothesis comes from the five-legged monster. The five-legged monster only lives on the island of Delia, the northernmost of Scotland. Because it likes to eat people and is hostile to humans, it is also cast to become unmapped. He comes from the McBoon clan on the island of Delia. There are two wizard families on this island, the McBurn clan and the McLever clan, and there is a feud between them. Once, the leaders of the two wizard families, Dougald McLever and Jinx McBurn, had a wizard duel after drinking, and Dougald McLever was killed. Under the influence of hatred, members of the McLever clan attacked the McBurn clan, and used a group magic similar to the blood curse together. All members of the McBurn clan turned into five-legged monsters, an unprecedented creature covered with thick reddish-brown hair and a deformed foot at the end of each leg. However, the people of the McLever clan soon realized that although the McBurn clan was very stupid in using magic, the monsters they transformed into were very dangerous. The people of the McLever clan tried desperately to change the McBurn people back many times, but failed. In the end, the five-legged monsters, transformed by these McBurn people, killed all the McLever clan people on the island. The wizards of the McLever clan who turned into five-legged monsters cannot speak, but they resolutely resist all attempts by the people of the Department for the Regulation and Control of Magical Creatures to restore them to their original forms, and Hagrids, with their unique magic that can arouse the rational and kind side of magical creatures, make the chaotic minds of wizards who have turned into magical creatures organized again. Just like Aragog raised by Hagrid, as an eight-eyed giant spider, he is organized, can speak clearly, and sticks to his promise not to eat people. If Hagrid had not found him a female spider who was not raised by himself as a wife, and did not tame every spider he could get in touch with, Harry and Ron would have been almost eaten in the end. Out of curiosity, Ryan, who is full of energy, ran to Hagrid's hut next to the Forbidden Forest early in the morning to observe secretly. Chapter 27, The Science of the Wand. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Looking at Hagrid's skills, Ryan was initially sure that Hagrid was the descendant of the King of Monsters. Ryan looked at Hagrid's cabin with boredom. The cabin was made of wood. Through the window, he could see that the cabin had only one room, with ham and pheasants hanging on it. In the middle of the room was a huge wooden table with a stack of leftover ferret sandwiches on it. In the corner was a large bed with a quilt made of rags. There were several copper kettles hanging from the ceiling, and a bunch of long, smooth and white hair. In the brazier in the opposite corner, a copper kettle was boiling water. Pumpkins and lentils were planted in a field behind the cabin. A pink floral umbrella was leaning against the wall. In front of the gate was a crossbow and a pair of rubber overshoes. It is really luxurious in the midst of desolation. The white hair hanging casually is the hair of a unicorn. According to Horace Slughorn, the professor of the 6th potion class, the price of a unicorn tail hair is 10 galleons. You know, Harry's wand is only 7 gold galleons, and Hagrid just thinks that the unicorn tail hair is very strong and can be used to bandage injured animals. You have to understand that unicorn tail hair has many uses. First, unicorn tail hair can be used to make potions, such as beauty potions. Unicorn tail hair can be purchased in the pharmacy in Diagon Alley at a price of 10 galleons per bag. However, the amount of a bag here is only less than one of Hagrid's unicorn hair. They are processed and trimmed, and they look more in a bag. However, when you think about it, it is used to make beauty potions. There is a reason why witches' cosmetics are sold at a high price. Second, unicorn tail hair can be used to make wands. Wands made of unicorn tail hair can produce the most stable magic, rarely subject to fluctuations or blockages. And the most loyal, whether its first owner is an outstanding wizard or not, it will maintain a strong connection with this person. This kind of wand also has disadvantages. It is difficult to use dark magic. They will not become the most powerful wands, although the wand may compensate for this deficiency. At the same time, just as its owner is only in contact with girls, unicorn tail hair can easily become melancholy if not handled properly. This means that this tail hair has died and needs to be replaced. Ryan suddenly felt a little fortunate that his wand was not made of unicorn tail hair, although the wand can compensate for the shortcomings of unicorn hair wands. But compared with dragon and phoenix feathers, it is still a little insufficient. You can use good wand wood for your unicorn tail hair wand, but dragon and phoenix feathers can't be used. Aspen wood, an outstanding wand wood, has made up for the shortcomings, plus my wand is made of unprecedented unicorn heartstrings. According to what I asked Jack to find out later, this wand was made by Ollivander in his early years. He rejected more than one wizard who later became outstanding because of lack of talent. It can be seen how powerful it is. However, unicorn hair is already one of the 3 most magical materials in the eyes of Ollivander, the wand master, besides dragons and phoenixes. Unicorns are a bit like phoenixes. The only parts of them that can be used to make wands are usually the hair on their bodies. Unlike dragons, all parts of dragons can be used to make wands, such as the nerves and heartstrings of dragons. Unicorns look noble and sacred, but their other parts carry strong curses that entangle a wizard for life. The hair with the weakest magic can be used as the core of the wand. Phoenixes have many feathers and often shed their feathers. Although they cannot be caught, feathers can always be found in their habitats. The most powerful of the 3, dragons, are so useful and fertile that even Dumbledore specially studied the 12 uses of dragon blood when he was young. Even the breeding of dragons, pure-blood wizards have specially legislated to prohibit wizards from privately breeding, and have specially built dragon farms in Romania to monopolize. And another child of prophecy, Harry Potter. His wand combination can be regarded as an extraordinary combination. As Ryan learned more about the wand, he knew why Ollivander couldn't put it down in the original book. Holly wood, phoenix feather, flexible, 11 inches long. Holly wood is a rare wand wood. Only those who are usually considered to have defensive properties, like those who need to overcome their anger and impatience. They will also follow those who often choose to engage in some dangerous behaviors and advocate spiritual pursuits. The performance of the Hollywood wand depends largely on its core, and it is a wood that is quite difficult to match with phoenix feathers, because its instability will conflict strangely with the phoenix's detachment. However, in special circumstances, this match will also happen, and then no one and nothing can stop them. And its owner, Harry Potter, also fully demonstrated these qualities. Harry Potter is very good at controlling his emotions, and even has a bit of inferiority complex. After entering the magic world, he gradually became confident and full of courage, and was willing to sacrifice himself and fight at critical moments. He is also best at the Patronus charm, which extremely reflects the defensive properties of Hollywood and drives away hundreds of Dementors in one breath. Even in the 7th part, when facing the enemy of the Master, it actively releases an unprecedented and powerful spell to repel Voldemort. An interesting point is that in the superstition of wizards, the owner of the Holly Wand and the owner of the Oak Wand are incompatible, and they cannot be together, and Hagrid is the Oak Wand. This is because the oak is called the king of the forest from the winter solstice to the summer solstice, and its wood can only be collected during this period. Holly replaces the oak as the king of the forest when the daylight becomes shorter again, so holly can only be collected in the second half of the year, which is why they are incompatible. In Ollivander's wand shop, there are only about a dozen such extraordinary combinations since 382 BC, and most of them have never met their owners. Ollivander will only cherish them and let the little wizards try them one by one after testing them many times. However, this may also be the reason why most wizards do not attach importance to wand learning. Most of them think that it is enough to make do with it. Muggle-born little wizards will take the initiative to buy wands at Ollivander, and some wizards only choose Ollivander because it is the best. Some would rather go to second-hand wand shops to buy them, saving money to buy other things that they think are more important, such as potion materials, clothes, etc. The vast majority of those who did not go to Ollivander to buy wands inherited their relatives' wands. Ron and Neville both used their relatives' old wands. Ron inherited Charlie's unicorn hair wand because he was poor. It was loyal to its first owner, which led to Ron's mediocre performance in the 1st grade. Neville used his father's old wand until the 5th grade because his grandmother did not pay attention to this. One point that many people did not notice is that Lucius Malfoy's Elm Dragon Nerve wand was also inherited from his father, Abraxas Malfoy. It's a pity. The power of a well-matched wand can be proved by Harry's performance in the original book. The reason why Neville performed so poorly in the original book was also because the wand was not in tune. It was not until the end of the 5th book, Order of the Phoenix, that he went to Ollivander to get the wand on the eve of the 6th grade because the battle wand was damaged. Interestingly, this is also the last wand sold by Ollivander before being kidnapped by Voldemort, Cherry Wood and Unicorn Tail Hair. Chapter 28 Classification. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A sniffer appeared out of nowhere and emerged from a hole in the ground, attracting and disturbing Ryan's thoughts. Not far away, Hagrid put on his rubber shoes, picked up the stone bough in front of the door, and walked into the depths of the Forbidden Forest. Yaya followed Hagrid timidly, and the Thestrals gradually dispersed. Ryan didn't plan to show up. Although his current appearance looked the same as the real Phoenix, Ryan was not familiar with the Phoenix's demeanor and movements. In front of Hagrid, an expert on magical animals, well, forget it, today's the purpose has been achieved. Is this fate? The Forbidden Forest has welcomed its master's descendants. Ryan watched Hagrid enter the Forbidden Forest and couldn't help but sigh in his heart. From Ryan's magical perspective, the magical tide of the entire Forbidden Forest accompanied Hagrid's entry, as if cheering for the new master. Ryan suddenly disappeared from the spot. Ryan, who has gradually become familiar with the phoenix form, no longer needs to be accompanied by flames that rise without wind. In layman's terms, there is no need to add special effects, although it requires a little more magic power. The wizard's apparition can actually eliminate the crackling sound, but this magic itself is used to travel. Why waste more magic power? What if you don't pay attention and cause separation? Ryan, whose consciousness returned to the castle, once again lamented Hagrid's great affinity with animals. Such a simple and seemingly ordinary skill could actually support a kingdom composed of magical creatures. Hagrid's current charm skill level is actually level 4. Level 4 is not an ordinary number, it is the overall level. the average Ministry of Magic employees and poor Aurors are almost at this level, and a small number of them don't even have a level 3 spell. Level 4 is already a relatively good level. As for level 5, Ryan has only detected it on Scrimgeour, who appeared briefly. No wonder he was the one who came up after Fudge stepped down. It seems that he is not only a style, but also a strength. In Ryan's view, Charms is the foundation of a wizard and the most direct skill. Transfiguration is so difficult that it is not a spell. Defense against dark arts is nothing more than teaching how to use spells to fight against black magic. Ryan actually made a summary based on the data obtained from his investigative skills and the spell levels on the panel, but things like transfiguration and potions were both vague and difficult to compare. Just look at the mastery of magic spells. Level 1 is the level at which you can barely use the spell accurately. The level of a first-year student at Hogwarts. Level 2 refers to the skillful use of spells, accurate spell casting, and clear articulation. The level of a second to third-year Hogwarts student. Level 3 means that the willpower can reach the level of silent spellcasting. The level of 4th to 5th grade Hogwarts students. Level 4 means having your own understanding of a curse. The level of Hogwarts students in grades 6 to 7, LV5. This depends on talent. Ordinary wizards need to study carefully for many years to achieve it. Level 6 is a field that only geniuses can enter. Ordinary wizards may only be able to touch the edge after a lifetime of hard work, luck and inspiration. However, the level of students of different grades mentioned above does not refer to the level of the entire magic or transfiguration studies, but the level of LV3 or LV4 of the magic and transfiguration that are usually taught in class and practiced regularly. Most students at Hogwarts will probably only have level 3 in charms after graduation, and those at level 4 are probably very rare. If you want to improve the overall level, only those who concentrate on studying magic can achieve it. Otherwise, you can only rely on a few LV4 magic spells to become a combat genius, and your level of magic spells is still LV3. However, it is understandable. Hagrid cast spells many times in the original work. There is a lot of obvious evidence that Hagrid's wand has always been hidden in his girlish pink umbrella. Of course, this color is not limited to witches in the wizarding world, and is different from the Muggle world. Although Hagrid's wand was expelled and broken in the 3rd grade because of Voldemort's report, the broken wand was originally unusable, but you must know that Dumbledore owned the Elder Wand, one of the 3 legendary Deathly Hallows. It can be incredibly powerful and can accomplish some incredible feats. In the original book, Harry's Holly Wand was also damaged and dead, but as the owner of the Elder Wand, Harry simply repaired it and the wand came back to life. The secret behind Hagrid's wand, and the many times he apparently cast spells with it, was that Dumbledore fixed it for him. Hagrid's grades are pretty good, plus he has been studying magic and living in Hogwarts, a place with such deep traces of magic since he was expelled. When he is free, he can go to the library to borrow books, and even Dumbledore may tell him about it. Had some private lessons. If he hasn't reached level 4, it's probably because he's not focused on it. For example, his magical biology is at level 5, as for why such an outstanding Hagrid was expelled, it actually has nothing to do with Voldemort's report. He is just an enhanced version of Newt Castleman. Without this incident, sooner or later he would end up in Hogwarts like Newt. Say goodbye early. Since he entered school, he has been getting into trouble every other week. He has raised werewolf cubs under his bed and sneaked into the Forbidden Forest to fight trolls. He was clumsy and troublemaking, causing headaches to the headmaster of Hogwarts at the time. After the 3rd grade, he even raised an acromantula, a man-eating 5x level magical creature. The Ministry of Magic's Department for the Regulation and Control of Magical Creatures classifies all known animals, humans, and ghosts. These classification levels provide a guide that allows us to recognize the danger of an animal at a glance. This chapter is not over yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content below. The 5 classification levels are as follows. XXXXX animals known to kill wizards / impossible to tame or domesticate. XXXX dangerous / requires specialized knowledge / can only be dealt with by skilled wizards. XXX competent wizards can deal with. XX harmless / can be tamed. X annoying. It can be seen how bold Hagrid is. Raising a giant spider is enough to get him expelled. The headmaster at the time expelled him not because he killed Myrtle, but Hagrid's behavior itself was enough to get him expelled, and by the way, it made others think that the risk of killing Myrtle had disappeared with Hagrid's expulsion, killing two birds with one stone, seeing that Hagrid had reached the level 4 of charms by living in Hogwarts for many years. Ryan thought of a long-shelved plan: go to Hogwarts and practice spells. According to Ryan's summary, compared with other places, Hogwarts, in layman's terms, is a 10% faster progress in magic and a 10% lower difficulty in getting started. Practicing spells there can be said to add a buff, which is even more amazing for Ryan, who is already a cheat. For the Avada Kedavra spell, there may not be enough traces there. But for common spells such as blazing flames and clear water like springs, there must be a lot of corresponding traces there. The reason why Hogwarts textbooks have not been changed may be because of this, although they may not be aware of this. However, after finding that the new magic book has been changed, the students can't keep up with the progress, so they will think that the new textbook is not suitable, and then change it back. The final result is that the same textbook has been used all the time, especially the spell class. I can use the Phoenix version of apparition. I just need to find a hidden place in the Forbidden Forest and start practicing secretly. With the Phoenix's 365-degree all-round vision without blind spots and reconnaissance skills, I am not afraid of someone getting close. It can't be that Dumbledore brought the Phoenix here. Chapter 29 Avada eats Big Melon. You are listening at novelfull.audio. However, this plan will probably have to wait until after Christmas. I have an appointment with Penelope and Kate to meet in Hogsmeade on Christmas, and after Christmas, most of the students have left Hogwarts, which is the most relaxing time. It's just the right time to check it out. Jack. Master Ryan. Are you hungry? Let's have noodles for breakfast today. Just let yourself play. Ryan nodded slightly. After a while, with a bowl of fragrant beef noodles and looking at the slender chopsticks in his hand, Ryan thought of an interesting thing. The Elder Wand, the last wand Voldemort took before his death, is the Deathly Hallows, and the destined weapons that led to Voldemort's death are also related to the Deathly Hallows. The first is the Resurrection Stone. Because of the wonderful connection between the Resurrection Stone and Voldemort's resurrection by using Harry's blood, Harry Potter survived Voldemort's killing curse again, which eventually led to Voldemort's own death. The second is the Elder Wand. Dumbledore planned to die undefeated and become the last true owner of the wand. If everything goes according to plan, the power of the wand should die with him, because no one won the wand from him. Because the Elder Wand changes its owner by defeating the previous owner. If it fails, Snape can also become his master, but Draco Malfoy, by accident, briefly became the master of this most powerful wand. Under a strange fate, Harry defeated Draco and became the new owner of the Elder Wand, but Voldemort used this wand to release Avada Kedavra on Harry, and was cursed to death again by the rebounding death curse. Ryan also found that Gryffindor's sword can also be regarded as another Elder Wand, or it is a replica of it, and it can also become stronger by absorbing magical substances. The owner of this sword, Gryffindor, is also related to the eldest brother in the legend of the three brothers who died early after Ryan's investigation and research. I don't know if he gets along best with Slytherin, who is also related to the second brother, and whether there is a relationship between them. The sword of Gryffindor is the real wand of Gryffindor. According to historical records, Gryffindor used it far more times than the wand, and Neville also used it to chop off the head of Nagini, a big snake, a poor witch who lost her humanity and memory because of the blood curse, and the last Horcrux that Voldemort destroyed in the true sense. According to Ryan's speculation, if the first two children of prophecy failed, it would be me. At that time, I should have the Black Knight in my hand, a replica and variant made by my father George Smith based on the old wand. The invisibility cloak allowed Harry to escape many times. If Harry failed, Neville would surely inherit it and take down the remaining blood Voldemort. If Neville was also game over, the original Ryan Smith would also raise the Black Knight. Wouldn't the invisibility cloak and the gun be more suitable? The three Deathly Hallows and their replicas, the blood of the three brothers, are all entangled in this prophecy. After dinner, Ryan went to the kitchen and started an experiment that had been prepared long ago. Avada, eat the big melon. A green light that can be called holy flashed. This fat pig that should have been sent to the kitchen long ago died silently and painlessly. Ryan was trying to use the death curse according to his own ideas. Sure enough, unlike the original version, there was no need to fill his heart with the strong idea of killing and death. Ryan took on the role of the god of death, and with the mentality of the Lord of the Dead Country, he regarded life as a disease and brought the elixir of death to all living beings, Avada Kedavra LV5, LV6. In this mentality, the height of this spell has reached the limit of the wizard. The further LV7 is the realm of the real gods, but unfortunately, it only reached this power temporarily. Ryan's death curse skills are still only from LV4, LV5. Although the power of LV6 can be reproduced again with the help of his talent, this is a cheat, and the ability itself has not been improved. Just like the Phoenix incarnation, the talent of the Phoenix was obtained by cheating, and the magic of the Phoenix incarnation itself still needs to be mastered by oneself to continue to grow. The power obtained by cheating can only be improved when the skill is really close to the power of cheating. However, the power obtained by Ryan under this talent of eternal proof is itself a guiding light for his original skills, and it is only a matter of time to reach the same level. My guess is indeed correct. Ryan dared to touch, master, and experiment with the deciphering and mastering the death curse only after he broke free from the group thought of wizards and gained eternal life by relying on the Phoenix incarnation. The Avada Kedavra of the Avada Kedavra means let the thing be destroyed, which means destroy it, which means destroying the disease. Combining his own guesses with the help of thinking skills, Ryan really changed his thinking mode at the moment of casting the spell, forgot who he was for a short time, and completely brought into the role of the god of death. After all, if he didn't have the ability to think, even if Ryan understood the principle, he could only rely on the power of the panel itself to point him to the right path, grinding over and over again until he succeeded. LV4 spell learning allowed Ryan to easily upgrade a spell from scratch to level 4. In addition, this time, which was the rarest role-playing in the wizarding world, Ryan upgraded the death curse to level 5, which was the limit that a wizard genius could normally reach after a lifetime of hard work. Even mastered the power of reproducing LV6, which is a field that requires true study, talent, and luck to stay. This chapter is not over yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. According to a mobile game Ryan played before crossing, it is to stack the death curse. Ryan rubbed his head. It was really dangerous. If he didn't have the system, he wouldn't dare to do so. In Ryan's opinion, the change of thinking mode is more terrible than being possessed by others. Personality is the composition of all memories in a person's life. Every memory is indispensable and extremely precious. Ryan believes that personality is more precious than the soul. Perhaps this is the real reason why thinking about this skill has developed in the direction of photographic memory and digging out all memories. This skill has helped Ryan a lot. If it weren't for it, he would definitely become arrogant after reading the original work many times, and he might step on the mines in some details that he didn't remember in the end. Only when he remembered all the memories did Ryan truly realize the strengths and weaknesses of Zhou-E, or Ryan Smith, and face up to and accept all of himself. This kind of perception cannot be exchanged for any amount of money. In terms of learning magic, with it, you can better understand magic. In short, this skill itself is the ultimate manifestation of Ryan's fantasy. With the help of the panel, it develops in a more perfect direction and abandons shortcomings. Even under the effect of the correct power pointed by the panel, it can achieve the effect of knowing the answer to a question out of thin air. It's like a little wizard in the case of wizard group thought. The same spell, magic level, can't compare with adult wizards. But after thinking about it, Ryan found that this chain was so difficult to break free, and Voldemort should have broken free of the chain in advance by killing wizards in the original work. Chapter 30 Checking for Omissions and Filling Gaps. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ryan couldn't help but feel a little shocked. By killing wizards? That should be when Voldemort was in the 5th grade. He accidentally killed Myrtle. When he was worried about leaving Hogwarts, which was like his home, he suddenly found that his power had increased. What did Voldemort feel at that time? Would it be a foreshadowing for Voldemort's subsequent killings? And it is very likely that this killing made him create the Horcrux. Ryan suddenly woke up as if from a dream. His understanding of this world was all from the original 7 novels from the perspective of Harry Potter. In Harry's eyes, Voldemort, like him, regarded Hogwarts as home, the most important place, and Voldemort was indeed very special to Hogwarts. Even after Dumbledore died, Hogwarts was still operating normally. Knave Luna rebelled many times in school, but he did not do anything cruel. Although this may have a lot to do with Snape's care, Voldemort, as the boss, could not have been unaware of it, but Harry thought too well of Voldemort. Myrtle's death was not an accidental killing by the basilisk, but Voldemort had planned it. Hogwarts may be important to both Harry and Voldemort, but how could Voldemort resist the temptation of immortality? As the most unpopular person in Ravenclaw, Myrtle is not as big-hearted as Luna. She would go to the bathroom to cry every time she was wronged. At this time, Voldemort just got the knowledge of Horcruxes and opened the Chamber of Secrets of Slytherin. He was looking for a sacrifice, and Hagrid happened to be raising Acromantula, which was very unwelcome. With the right time, right place and right people, why didn't Voldemort do it? Voldemort's birth name was Tom Marvolo Riddle, where Tom came from his father Tom Riddle Sr. and the middle name Marvolo came from his grandfather Marvolo Gaunt. The combination of his original name, Voldemort, comes from French. Vol means fly, steal, de is a preposition, equivalent to of in English. Mort means death, so it means flying away from death or stealing death. The name Voldemort means flying away from death. Will he really resist such temptation? Harry's perspective is not fair. For example, he has a prejudice against Slytherin. This is a real world. If I always hold this attitude, I may not suffer any loss because of my strength, but Ryan may do something that is not in line with my morality. Is Poodle Pansy really ugly? You know, she was invited by Malfoy as a dance partner. Malfoy should not find an ugly girl to dance. Although she is a clown herself, Hermione also mocked her as a complete cow and thought, how can she be a prefect? She is dumber than a mountain troll with a concussion. In the 7th book, when Voldemort announced that he would not harm students or touch the school if Harry Potter was handed over, she actually climbed onto the table, pointed at Harry and screamed, "He's there! Potter is there! Someone come and catch him!" She then became the first student ordered by Professor McGonagall to leave the hall with Filch. Even when I was Jo-E, I read a report. Someone asked, "Who do you want to be among the girls who appear in the Philosopher's Stone?" Rowling replied, "I want to be Hermione, but I don't want to be Pansy Parkinson. She is a character that even the author hates very much." She briefly became Draco Malfoy's lover, but was dumped in the end. Malfoy found Astoria Greengrass to marry, a Slytherin student who was 2 years younger than him. How to say it, boys always like younger than themselves. Harry also found Ginny, who was 1 year younger than him. After 4 years, I still went to see it in person. After all, I want to give all beautiful witches a home and save their tragic fate. Righteous face. Just as Ryan was thinking about it, a shrill voice interrupted Ryan's thoughts. "Master, it's time to go to St. Mungo's Hospital." Jack suddenly appeared and said respectfully, this was another plan Ryan had originally planned, to learn healing spells, and education in this area has long been monopolized by St. Mungo's. Some small healing spells were available at Hogwarts, but they had never been taught. Harry also complained about this in the original book. Only those whose parents were dental and medical related, like Hermione, who loved to learn, could master healing spells. Going to St. Mungo's was not because of the lack of spells in this area. In terms of education, Ryan was gifted and did not need it very much, but the magical traces of healing spells were full in this magic hospital. Learning in this environment can be said to be 1,000 miles a day. Crack. Ryan and Jack operated and came to Tau Tau Company, Limited, an old department store in London, and St. Mungo's was behind it. This department store, as expected, was also Smith's Industry, and St. Mungo's also had Smith's Investment. St. Mungo's was built here mainly because there was not enough space in Diagon Alley, and it could not be built underground like the Ministry of Magic. Finally, it bought another unknown department store behind Tau Tau Company, Limited in the center of London on the grounds that it would be convenient for sick wizards to come and go among the crowd. Like the Leaky Cauldron, Tau Tau Company, Limited department store has a secret entrance to the Leaky Cauldron, so you don't need to make an appointment to go to the hospital, and you can check in directly. The hospital building has a total of 6 floors, first floor, Instrument Accident Department, second floor. Biological Injury Department, third floor, Strange Bacteria Infection Department, fourth floor, Department of Pharmacy and Phytotoxicity, fifth floor, Curse Damage Department. Sixth floor, Tea Room and Shop. On the wall of the first floor hangs a portrait of Delise Derwent, who is also the headmistress of Hogwarts School. At the information desk sits a wizard who explains to patients in which department they will receive treatment. As for Smith's secret passage, the exit is on the 6th floor, in a lonely tea room that no one can approach. Ryan and Jack, who put on the magic hat and transformed into George Smith, opened the door to the tea room. What they saw was a green couch surrounded by elder herbs, and the wall facing the room looked like a one-sided perspective. Glass. The whole environment is like a tropical rainforest, surrounded by various rare plants. There were people walking around outside the glass, wearing cross badges composed of wands and bones on their chests, and wearing dark green robes. The therapists did not notice the arrival of Ryan and the others at all. Jack sat on the edge of the sofa with ease, pointed to a flower pot in the corner and said to Ryan, "As long as you move it, the wall will return to normal, and the therapists will also notice that there is a patient who needs treatment here. If just by watering it, the therapists would think there was a visitor in the room." Ryan motioned to Jack not to touch it and started his own practice. Ryan actually had a general understanding of such an environment before coming here, and it was easier for him to restrain his shame this time. To be honest, practicing mantras in an environment where people come and go is more difficult than imagined.